I am your host, Carrie Scollon, giving us different perspectives on where we are and where we want to go on our journey. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to spending some time with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Founders Series. I am your host, Carrie Scollon, and we are here to bring you some amazing women with amazing stories. And I have a great one on here today. Her name is Terra. She is a global director with Epicure for 24 plus years. She is a certified business coach, a trainer, a public speaker. She's a mom to a beautiful daughter. She's a fiance. And she's also been my friend for, we just figured out, maybe 40 years. So it's not giving away our age or anything, but I am thrilled to have Terra on to share a bit about her story, what it's taken for her to get as far as she's gotten, very successful in her business. And I'm just so proud of her. She's an inspiration. And Terra, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. And let's dive in.
Okay, well, thanks, Carrie. That was a wonderful introduction. Like 40 years. Well, we did meet at birth, so all right.
Pretty close to that. Yep.
Yeah. So, it's like, where does the time go?
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for having me on. I'm really honored.
Awesome. I would love to know, for the people that are watching, where did this start? You've been with Epicure for, like I said, over 24 years. Can you tell me a little bit of your journey and what it took to get you to where you are and how big your team is? And I know that one of your messages is that you love empowering women and to create the life that they desire, which is near and dear to my heart. That's what I'm here for too. I believe that we all have the ability to do that. The possibilities are endless, but sometimes it's just a matter of taking the risk, stepping out of your comfort zone, doing it anyways, even when you don't feel ready. So I would love for you just to kind of let us know a little bit of your journey to get where you are.
Okay, well, it all started way back when, prior to me having my daughter, Asia. Mm-hmm. And I was working as an accountant for a land development company. I was running their accounting office, and they had sent me to a home show because one of our salesmen didn't show up. And I was like, what am I going to do? I'm an accountant. I'm not a salesman. Like, what am I supposed to do? Because we had spec homes and they sold homes. So we had a display at the home show. So they said, just hand out the pamphlets. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. And they said, smile, hand out pamphlets. So I got to the home show, and it wasn't really that busy, thankfully, because I didn't really know how to answer questions and I was like, I'm definitely not a salesman. How am I going to do that? So I got a chance to walk around the home show, and I came upon a booth, Epicure, and I had used these products from farmers markets and things like that previously. Okay. And actually used to phone the owner of Epicure, Sylvie. And when she was receiving, packing, reception, she was everything. She was making it in her basement in her home. Wow. And so you'd phone up, and she was like boxing it and telling you other products to try as she was putting in the box that she was going to ship out later that day. So, but I had lost touch because the number I used to call, it was out of order. And I'm like, I guess she stopped doing this, it was like maybe a hobby or whatever. And then I saw them at the home show. So I was like, oh my gosh, I said to the lady, give me a bag, because I'm going to go crazy here. I said, there's a bunch of products I want. I noticed she had expanded her line from what I knew. Yeah. And as I'm throwing stuff in the bag, she said, you seem to really know this product. You seem to really like it. Have you ever thought about having a business like with this? Because that's what we're doing now. Because she said she couldn't handle it all herself anymore. So now she needs to get a sales team. Yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah, no, I work 50 hours a week at my job. I have 4 clients on the side in case I have any free time. And I'm busy. Yeah. I said, I don't have time for another business. So anyways, long story short, I went home, I talked to my husband at the time, and he's like, well, on the back of this catalog here, there's this collection and it's way less expensive than all this stuff you bought here. You're an accountant. How come you didn't figure that out? Why don't you just get this collection here? And I'm like, well, it's not a collection, it's a business kit. And then you have to, I'm sure you have to sell something. And I said, I'm not a salesman, I'm an accountant, and I don't want to sell it. I just want to use it. Yes. So he said, well, go back and ask her what's required, because this is a way better deal. So I did that the next day. And I said, if I can buy this and I don't have to actually do anything, can I do that? I said, because, and will you take all this stuff back? So she said, oh yeah, sure. We'll do that. And she goes, and you can just supply friends and family. And that way you can maybe get some of your stuff for free. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. We'll figure that out. But I said, don't phone and bug me to sell anything, because I am not a salesman. I don't like that. I don't want to do that. She's like, fair enough. Yeah. So anyways, what happened was I kind of dabbled in it a bit. I took things to barbecues and girl get-togethers and stuff like that. And they'd all be like, what is this? I want this too. So I started doing a monthly order. And I would say to them, if you want something, call me. And then you're going to have to come pick it up. I was like, talk to the hand marketing. Like, I was not giving any customer service. I was like, I'm not doing this as a business. I'll do it as a service to you guys if you want to get this stuff, was more my attitude. Yeah. So, and I just laugh at that now, because that's exactly what you don't want to do. But anyhow, my friend,
it obviously worked. It worked. Right.
Well, my friends, I think the product spoke for itself enough that my lack of marketing skills didn't get in the way. So, because I was just so bad.
Well, anyway, and you had no pressure on yourself either, right? There was no pressure. You were just doing it because you loved the product. Mm-hmm. If most of us went in with that, no expectation, you're happy to share. That's true sharing.
Exactly.
And that's selling. Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point, things changed because I had my little girl, Asia. I went back to my corporate job because they said I could, and I wanted to go part-time, but they said, you can't run the department and be part-time. You can't be a part-time boss. If you would like to step down and take a lower position, you can go part-time, but not otherwise. So I was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. So one day I showed up at the daycare, and Asia had started, crawling when they start inching along the floor and whatnot.
Yes.
And actually, she was at a daycare called June Bugs. You remember June Lowland? It was her and a good friend of both of ours.
Yes.
Anyways, and she said, Tara, she started crawling. When I got a video though. And I just started to cry. I was like, oh yeah, no, this is not going to happen again. I am not going to show up to find out she's done some life-changing skill that she's acquired. I knew I was only going to have one child. I wanted to raise her myself. So at that point, I was motivated to figure out anything I needed to do to stay home. Right. So all of a sudden, my fear of being a salesman, I thought, well, if I can find a way that I don't have to be that person that I perceive that I don't like,
right,
I'm going to do this. And all I have to do is make this much, and I can stay home, and I can have, time with Asia and all of that. So it pushed me over that fear, pushed me out of my comfort zone, because I was like, I got to figure this out.
Right.
So luckily, Epicure has a system in place where they teach you about sharing, about networking, it's not about pushing products on people or being that salesy person. And I know a lot of my customers have said, we love coming to your presentations and doing stuff like that, because you're not pushy, you're not salesy. You just say, hey, this is what you can do with these products. This is what can save you time, save you money, do whatever. And then you just let us choose. And I'm like, well, that's how they teach us. I did not come up with this on my own, because I had no sales skills.
Yeah.
So anyways, I decided to do that until she went to kindergarten, like a lot of moms do. And then I thought, and then I'll go back to my corporate training and do all of that. But by then my team had grown into the thousands. I was making a 6-figure income. I was working 20 hours a week. I was like, that stay-at-home mom with an executive income.
Wow. So you did that in what was the time period you did that? From the time she was like a baby till...
Yeah, 0 to like kindergarten, 5, I guess.
Wow. Wow.
And I mean, it wasn't without sacrifice. There was weekends where all my friends were, socializing. We had a really big social group. So, pretty much every weekend, everyone got together. And here I was driving through snowstorms to Kamloops to do a home show up there to try and grow my business.
Yeah.
And, with my husband at the time looking after Asia. And of course, you didn't even have Zoom then. So it was like, I'd just go away for the weekend. And I'd be missing her. I'd be missing all my friends. I'd be going, am I doing the right thing? Standing here at a trade show. And,
Can I just dive in there for a second? I love that you are honest enough to share that it was not simple. It wasn't easy. You gave up things. You had the guilt. You've gone through the whole gamut of, is it worth it? I mean, you and I like that you share that, because I think a lot of women get into that mode, right? Where you only see the good stuff. You don't see what it took behind the scenes to get you to where you are, right?
Oh, exactly. And, and I often share that with my team, is because they see me as a global director and they think I was always here, or somehow the company gifted me that, or, well, you started early. And I'm like, well, let me tell you about starting early. When I used to show up at people's homes and they thought that I was giving them a pedicure, because they were like, Epicure, pedicure, be the middle of winter in Campbell River. And I'd show up and everyone had flip-flops on. And I'd be like, oh yeah, no, no, I'm not touching your feet. This, this is a dip party. Because back then we were just entertaining like dips and things like that. And I'm like, and please don't put your feet in the dip. But anyway.
I have not heard that. That is hilarious. Oh my God. Well, I think something that I would like you to touch on too is the story you had about a salesperson, because we all have those, funny, cheesy salesperson, but also the MLM that a lot of people feel like. So you touched on that right a little bit you got in early, you got I would love for you to kind of dispel some of those myths that comes with what people say with the multi-level marketing.
Yes. So, that's the thing is I had to overcome a lot of that too. I had to overcome my own thinking around that. And I just wasn't educated about what it was. I mean, really every business set up, even a corporation, it has multi-levels, right?
Sure.
However, what people are referring to oftentimes is like a pyramid thing where, like someone approaches you at Christmas and says, hey, you buy 10 bottles of wine and you send it here and you're going to get like 100 bottles back. But there's always going to be someone in that scheme that loses. The guy at the end where everyone stops buying.
Yeah, because I've been in that one and it was awesome. But I think I did get in at the very beginning.
Exactly. So then it's important. Get in at the beginning or in the middle. Right. But if you're at the end, you're the guy that loses out. So those are the kind of schemes or things like that people equate to anything, multi-level. So I had to really overcome that. And I thought, well, part of my job is to educate people that, just like if you worked at a bay counter in a makeup, on the makeup counter at the bay, and you had a sales team, you would make bonuses based on their sales. Well, it's the same kind of setup. Yeah. And I get paid to share a product that I love.
Right.
And it is truly about sharing, because nobody wants someone that's pushing it on them saying, you should get this, you should try this, you should do a party, you should,
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's about people getting educated too. So I also, when women join my team, I'd say, you know what, take the training, because your experience is going to be so much better, because what you don't know is important.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you built, how many women are on your team right now? And do you have any men?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I have a handful of fellas. Yep. And, the fellas do really good, because it's like kind of a niche, like they, but I mean, I'm 95, maybe 96. I don't know the exact numbers, women, of course, because, and as is network marketing, for the most part, in direct sales, party plan network marketing is mainly women. Yeah. And, what I encourage them to do is take the training. I mean, anywhere you get any job, you would never say to your boss, well, you know what? Thanks. I've got what I need. I'll just wing it and we'll see how this works. I'd had consultants say, I'll just throw out a few books and see who's interested. And I'm like, and that is not going to be a good experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
They throw some books out and wait by their phone. Sorry.
You want them to succeed, right? So there are certain things the tools are all there for you to actually have a successful business, but you have to be willing to do the work.
Oh, yeah. And you have to do the work. And that's what I said. This is not like I got in early or I got lucky or, it's like running any business. You have to put in the hours, you have to put in the work, and you have to be properly educated in how to do that. Right. I mean, you never go and say you were a doctor when you never taken the training.
Right.
So I always encourage them to take all the training, learn as they go, talk to their mentor, talk to their upline. I'm happy to share with them. What I love about direct sales is everybody helps everybody else. We're a big family because that's our setup. Like if I have a gal who's going to come up to global director, it's not going to bump me out of global director. Right. There's room for everybody. Yes. It's not like a corporation where there's one CEO. And if you want the CEO's job, you're pretty much waiting for him to die or you are going to take him out. Right. Because there's one seat. Right. With network marketing, multi-level marketing, direct sales, everyone can aspire to get to the top. And as everybody helps everybody rises up. So the competition then is just within helping each other. It's not competition, No. And we all know, like, if I do better and I share that with someone else and they do better, we all do better. Yes. Amazing. Yeah. So how did you get the training then on how to build your team, or did you just do that naturally? Like, tell me a bit about that process of what you had to learn yourself. I mean, you're now a certified business coach, so you've done a lot of probably outside training as well and education. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I've always, to me, you have to learn to grow. So I've always tried to find things that would help my business that I can bring in from outside. So become a certified business coach. Well, that only helps me help the people that come into my business. Yes. And, I've always been part of organizations where I can go and learn more and bring that back to my team. And I feel like you should never stop doing that. You stop growing if you stop learning. And, they say earners are learners or leaders are learners. Like, yeah, I 100% agree. I can't ever imagine stopping learning. Yeah, exactly. I've always done things that I thought complemented and, and stumbled along. I often say, I failed to where I got, and I'm not afraid of trying something and it not working. Yes. You have to get over that fear of, well, what if it's not perfect? What if I don't succeed? Or what if I look foolish? Right. I got to the point where I didn't care what people thought. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going full speed ahead. And, I wanted to do everything I could to back that up. And getting back to what you said about there being hard work and making sacrifices. And a lot of people, they just really don't realize what's involved. Right. I can remember, I always say to people, I share this with a lot of my team, when they're like, well, I don't know if I can really afford to come to conference. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like if you were an insurance agent and it was a conference and your company told you had to go to that, you would go. Yeah. And it's only going to help your business. And they'd be, well, I can't really afford it. And I'm like, I can remember going to conferences and 6 of us would stay in a room, 2 bedded down on cots or on the carpet, 2 to a bed. Yeah. And it was a big slumber party. I mean, it was like, 3 days. It wasn't like you were staying there for a week. Yeah. And it was actually a lot of fun, but the people like, oh, I don't like to share a bed. And it's like, well, okay, you can overcome that thing and move forward. Or, doing trade shows where I'd go into a town. I can remember going to Port Alberni, of all places, where that is.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford to pay for the show and the hotel. So I'm like, well, I got to pay for the show to get into the show. So then what can I do around that? I don't know anyone there to go and stay with. So I had an SUV and I often camped in it. I'm like, wait, I can just camp in my SUV. So literally I devised a system so that I could go and do this.
Yes.
And I would park in hotel parking lots because it was safe.
Yeah.
And then I'd had my whole little bed set up in the back and all my stuff. And then Friday I would have come from home. So of course I could shower that morning at home and I was all ready to do the show.
Yeah.
Saturday morning I was fine just to kind of puff up. And Saturday night I'd go to the local pool. And because they had showers and I'd have a nice night at the pool and then I'd have a full shower, get everything ready. Then I could get through Sunday. Sunday night I went home. So I made it work.
Right. You did where there's a will, there's a way, right? Like if you want something bad enough, you will find a way to make it happen, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't always
you need to want it that bad.
Yeah. And there were sometimes I doubted myself, like that one particular weekend where on the Saturday night, there was a pub in the building and a fight broke out just a ways from my car. And I was laying there kind of hiding going, did I make a mistake? Maybe I should just start the car and drive home. Like, what am I doing? Sleeping in my car out in a parking lot. This is ridiculous. And I'm like, no, Tara, wait. Stop sleeping in your car. You're camping. Yeah. And, this is an unfortunate incident, but this doesn't define what's going to happen in the future. So there was lots of times where I was like, am I crazy?
Yeah. But you persevered, right?
Yes.
Because you had, are you a goal setter then? Is that part of the company training? Like you set a goal, you reach it, you set another one. Is that part of it? Like,
yes.
Just for people to take away, kind of what it's taken you to get here, which you've shared with us. What are some of you've also touched on the mindset that you had to change around how you perceive selling and multi-level marketing.
Yes.
You had to take a look at that because that was something that you had that was resisting, right? It was something that was like, I don't know about that. So you actually took it on, dove into it, educated yourself on it, and then could come out with a different perspective, right?
Yeah. So, of course, once you've created the desire to do something, then it's, to me, I've always advocated it's 100% mindset. Because whatever you think is right.
Yeah.
And I've done tons and tons and tons of courses. Well, I took one of yours and around mindset, about changing your mindset, about, channeling abundance, bringing what you want into your life, law of attraction, vision boards, like all that stuff. I believe in all of those things. Yeah. And having the right mindset is the start. And then of course, yes, you want to have goals. You want to have like, where do I want to get? I'm not a really organized person. So I wasn't that one where I was like, okay, so I've got this all listed out and dates. I was kind of like, this is where I want to get to. These are all the tools that are going to help me. I'm going to throw all of those in. And then I was the kind that gets into a car and goes, I don't know how to drive this thing, but I'm going to put the gas to the floor and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did, because otherwise, if I kind of stopped to try and analyze what I was doing or
have everything
really organized around it, I think I would have stopped. I think I would have found reasons not to, or I would have spent what we call a lot of time doing busy work going, I'm getting ready to get ready.
Yes. Or you're taking one more course before you do it, or you're going to do one more thing before you do it. Yeah. I know that stopped me a ton from starting to put myself out there. I didn't think I was ready. I didn't have enough to share it. And so I'd read another book, and then I would take another free course, or I would do another webinar, and then I would find something else to immerse myself in. It was just because I was not secure in what I had. And I don't think you need to be 100% secure in what you're doing. You just have to do it, and you learn along the way. And I think you're right. I think that stopped so many women. I say women because that's our audience, but
yeah,
probably people from stopping before they even get started, because they're just so scared of it not being good enough. I think not being good enough is one of the biggest things that hold us back. Is we just don't think we're good enough.
And believing in yourself, and really getting over yourself and stopping self-sabotaging yourself, because we do a lot of that where it's like, she's good at that, but I can never do that. And early on in my career, about the 6th year, when I've had a lot of success in direct sales, because I had just really gone, you know what, I need to figure this out. My motivation was to stay home with Asia. So having a strong why is important too.
Yes.
But at about year 6, I was featured in a book by the Direct Selling Women's Association in the US. And I wrote an article called, "You don't have to like it, you just have to do it." So it's all about, there's going to be things also in your business that you don't like to do. Did I like sleeping in my car while 2 guys were fighting just like 4 feet away? No. And probably I don't advocate people to do that. But did I like picking up the phone sometimes and following up with people and fearing that they were going to be like, leave me alone. Why are you calling? I'm not interested, which never happened, by the way. But, people are generally polite. And yes, there was lots of people not interested, especially early on when they didn't know what Epicure was. And that's what I try to tell people is, getting back to you started early on. Yeah, nobody knew what Epicure was. I had a big job educating people on what it does. Nowadays, it's a household name and everyone's like, oh, Epicure, I love Epicure.
Yes.
That was a lot of work of people before me, before.
And what you've learned along the way is you're making that process easier for the people coming up. So maybe they're not in the beginning, but you've kind of paved the path, or the company itself, right? You've paved the path for a lot of your team members, though. And that's what everybody does who come first.
Yes, exactly. So it's not easier, but it's definitely rewarding. I love mentoring them. And that's the best part of my job. I mean, yes, my team is growing into the thousands. I'm just trying to, I like exact numbers. I think last year, the year before, we did over $17 million as a group selling spices. That's a lot of spices.
Yes. And that's your group?
Yeah, I have hundreds. Yes. Yeah, I have hundreds of managers and upper directors, or we don't call them managers, we call them leaders, but equivalent. And it's just grown to be this gigantic. I call it's the Larsen Global Organization.
Amazing.
And it's been one step at a time.
Yeah. And can I just? We only have like 3 minutes left. I also want to touch on. So you've created your own global enterprise, sounds like it. Mm-hmm. But I also know, and I've seen that you do give a lot back. So yes, I know that's a really important piece for me, is whatever I do, I want to be able to give back in some way. And I know that you do that. And so if you could touch on that for the last 2 minutes, and then we'll have to sign off. But
yes. Okay. So that's the one thing my business has allowed me to do. And it's one thing I learned early on. And it's one thing that I teach and mentor to people is go give. And I learned that from Mary Kay. She's really the first direct seller out there. Yeah. And she was all about, you know what? Yeah, you don't go and try and get, you don't go and sell, and you don't try and take things from people. Go and give, go and share, go and give back in your business. And also Sylvie Rochette, she always says, to whom much is given, much is expected. And that's how we roll in Epicure, is we all find ways to give back. At our conferences, we often make soup for soup kitchens and do stuff like that. We're all about how can we give back as part of our whole global entity. So I give 15% every month to the food bank of my sales, and I choose a different food bank so that I share amongst all transition houses, things like that, because my business allows me to do that.
Beautiful. And that's part of the freedom that you've created for yourself.
Yes.
Is living the life that you want to live, is being able to go travel wherever you want to go. And me personally, the more I make, the more I can give. That's how I feel.
Yes.
That is something that lights me up. That is part of the why behind what I do is what can I give? How can I give more? What is it? What's possible? It's endless. The possibilities are endless of what we can give. So I love that you incorporate that in your business. And I knew you would with the heart that you have. I knew there'd be a giving piece in there. And I've seen it. I've seen it in action, what you do and what you give back. And just the fact that you empower so many women. I'm just honored to have you on here. I think you really are an inspiration for a lot of women. And you were a single mom for many of those years, right? It wasn't easy. And so I just want you to know how proud I am of you and keep doing what you're doing. So I'm going to have to end it. The ladies who are here, please stick around for some Q&A with Terra. And for those of you who are watching, thank you so much for being here. And always know that you are more than enough as is. And we will see you next week. Thank you, Terra.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me.